All right, so the Venetian method, this method of glazing and scumbling was developed in the early 1400s by this guy, Jan van Eyck, who I'm sure all of you have heard of in art history classes and stuff. Um, so he was like one of the first people to really master oil painting, and he definitely mastered it. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, look at that freaking look at the wood. God, incredible stuff. Incredible attention to detail in his work, and this type of painting is really not possible without the complexities in the Venetian method. This, super delicate modeling, which is probably getting blown out by the camera right now. Um, as well as those hard edges, the beautiful soft edges in contrast. Obviously, we're looking at this on a computer screen, which is really different than seeing it in person. But these types of paintings really glow. I mean, they have incredible luminosity to them because of the method that is used to create them. When you work with glazes, you are thinning down the paint and making it more transparent, which is actually allowing light to pass through the paint. So the painting actually holds light within its surface, because it kind of passes through these transparent or translucent layers and bounces off an opaque layer underneath. And that's part of how these paintings look so luminous. You're just going to have to take my word for it there, because we're looking at all this stuff on a screen, because that's how we live life right now. But so later in the 1500s, the Venetian method was taken substantially further by this guy, Titian. Titian, instead of using a really smooth panel surface like Van Eyck was using, instead of using like just a bunch of glazes on top of an underpainting, Titian employed what's called the scumble, which is he would do his underpainting and then he would glaze on top of it and then typically let that dry and then scumble on top. And the scumble is a more opaque layer of paint that is thinned with a little bit of oil so that it has a little translucency to it. And that's what you use to build a lot of the light tones. So the light tones have significantly more thickness to them than the shadows do, which is dissimilar to the way that Van Eyck was painting, where the surfaces were much more uniform overall, much more glass-like in the surface quality. This is where texture really starts to get more developed, and where lights start to develop a different quality because of their opacity. So we got Titian, and then we're gonna fast forward a lot. I mean, there's like tons of other examples. You have Vermeer and Velasquez, Rembrandt, all kinds of incredible painters who are using one form or another of the Venetian technique. There's many different ways to do it, but let's move on to some more contemporary examples. Here we have Justin Mortimer. Justin Mortimer understands the Venetian technique. You can see also in these hands right here, a nice kind of close-up, you see the beautiful thinner layers of that kind of like greenish glaze quality, and then a bit more of that scumble, that kind of like soft grayish violet scumble that's on top of it, as well as just some of the layering that's back in here. And up in here is ways of layering thin and thicker paint in order to achieve this really wonderful surface quality as well as luminous quality to the paint. Craig Mullins. This is digital stuff, but Craig Mullins understands the Venetian technique. Part of what the Venetian technique focused on was strong light and strong shadow, and obviously you see that in spades here. You also see in Craig's work an incredible attention to the delicacy of the form, the wonderful modeling, the very, typically very soft, beautiful edges that he has in his form. This, once again, is a digital painting, but, very much looks like a traditional, type of Venetian method painting using glazes and scumble. Another great example of how light can really enhance a composition. Wonderful color, incredible saturation. Really good digital painter. We also have Aaron Weisenfeld here. Zooming out a little bit here. Aaron Weisenfeld, who's a youngish painter, also working in essentially the Venetian technique, one form or another of the Venetian technique. You see his beautiful paint quality, wonderful attention to detail. Another example of his work here. Using traditional techniques to make very contemporary paintings. And we have another excellent example here. Well, hopefully all of you guys know, but James Jean, and this is a close-up, but if you can see, and hopefully the camera is picking this up, but there is a wonderful, delicate textural quality to the entire surface of this. You have these little spots and dots, you have these kind of like runs and drips and things like that. That is glazing. James Jean obviously has this very individual style, this very kind of graphic style that he's using, but this kind of stuff, those color overlays, those textural qualities, those are achieved by glazes, which are a massive part of the purpose of the Venetian technique. Also, if you were to see this type of work in person, these paintings would be more luminous because of their glazes than paintings without glazes. Glazing simply picks up light, it holds light. But these, awesome textural qualities in here, a lot of that stuff is glazing. The bits of form that happen in here, also glazing. And you can kind of see where James Jean came from here. This is just on his website. This is stuff he was doing back, I don't know if this is in college or maybe a little after college, but this right here is the Venetian technique. This is done in oil paint as well. You see him understanding color, understanding those beautiful cold middle tones. He's dealing with this kind of wonderful cool light source here as well that's really activating these shadows because of the nice warmness of this kind of ochreish cloth that's there. But here you can see where he's coming from. It's his ability to do this sort of stuff and to understand this is why he's such a talented and successful artist, at least in terms of his skill. And that facility translates into this quirkier stuff as well. And this is all old work here. His new work has all examples of all this kind of stuff as well. But really, really great quality work, and also very different stylistically than some of the other examples. Just to go back to some of my books, Degas understands the Venetian technique, is actually trained by Ang, who was an absolute master of the technique. Vermeer, again, absolutely understood the Venetian technique. You know, incredible attention to detail, but also an incredible sense of light, which once again you don't get because this is a book. But if you have had the pleasure of seeing a Vermeer in person, you know what I'm talking about. But just in addition to that, I mean, even in a reproduction here, you see the beautiful quality of the skin tones, the absolute, complexity of the warm and cool shifts, as well as the form, the light and the shadow. All of this stuff will improve your ability to, to understand form and how it relates to, picture making and creating a wonderful finish and a wonderful technique. Vincent Desiderio also very much understands the Venetian technique. It is actually the way Desiderio paints is in the Venetian technique. Though there are some modernizations that he does to it.